London is no stranger to the fog, but rather than roll in, this mist seemed to rise, thick and slow, devouring the dark alleys of Whitechapel from the bottom up. Whitechapel Dark Mist, a Cthulhu by Gaslight mystery.
Hey everybody, welcome back to our Percentile Vice. Tonight's our actual play of Whitechapel Dark Mist, Call of Cthulhu campaign set in Victorian London. Cthulhu by Gaslight, if you will, but using 7th edition rules. I'm Steve, that's Emily, that's John, and we're going to start playing. Thanks for joining us. And here we are. Who wants to give us a recap of last week? Yeah, I want to hear your recap of last week.
Okay. So after Rosalee was dropped off at the barber shop, she went into a sort of dreamlike state where she saw many strange depictions of glass window shops and changing letters and strange train-like carts that ran on their own and big signs that were the dunking of some pastry. Lots of strange things and, came out of it, very promptly forgot it, kind of brushed it away. Left the barbershop in a hurry because of little Gregory? Georgie. I don't know why I want to call him Gregory every time. Just going absolutely ballistic inside the little jar in her pocket. She comes out to find the hairless, wrinkleless man thing across the street, Caillou, across the street, and decides not to pursue it. Meanwhile, Mr. Josephus Carter rounded up some boys from the Speedwagon Imports.
Irish and Darren Scott, but he's not Scottish.
Who followed him back down into...
Which proved to be a big disappointment for
especially when Josephus asked for a potato to throw. They went back down into the crypts and followed along, found some tracks where the bodies of the previous things had been drugged, found a very large mass of them, a dozen or so, and quickly tried to exit the premises and shot one down, and then crawled their way back out of the mausoleum with the help of Rosalee. And that's, I believe, where we left it.
Yeah, just a couple things that I had that.
Please.
They brought the body of the shot and killed ghoul with them. And as they were getting out, they found that a body had been dropped into the hole. And it was the crushed, every bone broken body of your good friend Jacko. Who was the first person you guys saw taken by the fog,
right,
and made him the 5th of missing folks over the last 4 weeks. John, anything you want to add there?
If him being Scottish played into it, I would have asked for some haggis to throw, okay?
Remember, you can always check the show notes down at the bottom. Just scroll down and you'll find a great recipe for Scottish potatoes.
Potatoes.
All right. So we find ourselves right outside the mausoleum. We have Rosalee Harper, Josephus Carter,
less injured,
2 Torino toughs who are employed currently with Josephus at the Speedwagon Company, and 1 dead body of this creature that looks vaguely dog-like, but also kind of human-like. Walks on, well, when he could, he walked upright, but occasionally would lope using his other one's elongated face. What you've come to know are ghouls. By that I mean you two have come to know that because I slipped up and said, the ghoul did this and the ghoul did that. But so now everybody knows they're ghouls. Yay.
Yeah. It's okay.
I can edit that out if you change your mind later.
Yeah. I don't care. It's fun. I like saying ghouls better than the creatures.
The things.
So there you are. The 4 of you and a dead ghoul. And as everything comes up, you are right there by the mausoleum. It's probably 7 o'clock at night, maybe 6:30. Right? It just started to get dark when you went in there, and it's pretty dark now. And you are in the cemetery grounds. What you gonna do? The scene is yours.
Do I, Josephus Carter, know where Reginald Probst lives?
That's a good question. Now, you've been professional acquaintances for some time now. I will let you make a luck roll for that, and I'll give you a bonus dice for the amount of time you've known him.
A 20 against a 23.
Nice.
Arr.
You only have 23 left. God.
I was at 30, and then I spent 13 on one shot. So
what you know about Reginald Probst is he really despises being down in the Whitechapel area. That he's more from central London, and got stationed down here, maybe in response to some of this stuff. But you've known him for a while, so he's probably been down here longer. But he doesn't like being here. He is currently staying in some rooms that are made available either next to or over the precinct. Like, here's a room, there's a sink, there's a bathroom down the hall,
Right.
that kind of thing. His actual residence is somewhere in central London. You're not aware of where that's at, though.
But he's probably not staying there.
So, wow. No, he probably is not going home to central London every night. He's probably, your recollection and knowledge is that most nights he stays in the little rooms that are provided for investigators, detectives, or whatever. He may occasionally make the trip back on weekends or something.
So, I know Reginald won't be in town at the moment, but, well, I know Reginald won't be working at the moment, but we need to take this and try to get it somewhere around the precinct where it won't raise a lot of hubbub and try to get him to it.
Okay. We could find out if the little street urchins would let us borrow their little hidey hole until we could get Mr. Probst.
No, I'd rather not bring them into this. I don't know what, they're so young. I don't know what seeing something like this would do to them. I don't want to bring them into it on that level.
We could just take him down to the precinct and they'll send somebody for him, I'm sure, once they get an eyeful of this.
I have a base navigate at 10. I have a base history at 5.
Some things were important to you, and
Apparently not.
some things were not.
Do you think you might know the area a little better than I do and possibly know of a less trodden alley that we could...
Well, you know, I feel like probably, given the fact that I am a prostitute, that there's a good chance that I know a alley somewhere.
We're going to need more than about 5 feet of it, though.
No, I don't know any alleys. Never even heard the word alley before. We could take him down to the brothel. Sure, I could get us a room there.
Sure, they've seen hairier guys.
I mean, I think we just take him down to the precinct. They'll send somebody out to go get him.
I would like to, in my mind, sort of plot out a less traveled route, like staying off main streets and whatnot, maybe take a back way.
Can I look around the cemetery? Sometimes they have like the carts that they carry bodies in on.
Absolutely. Do a spot hidden.
Bro, I failed it with a 91. It's too dark.
What do you say?
I was looking. I can't really see anything. It's so dark. Can you pull that lantern up? I'm looking for one of those carts so that y'all don't have to carry him.
Oh, well, sure. And I slug Irish in the shoulder because he has the lantern at the moment. Hey, we need to find a cart. And I'm going to help her look.
Okay. So we'll say this with you and Irish involved in holding up the lantern. Let's just do this as a luck roll. Is there a cart? Because if there is, you're going to see it. You can do it.
Oh.
You don't want to do it. A 52 versus a 57. Hell
I rolled
yeah.
a 6.
Oh, so you made it too.
Okay. So up closer to the church, where you'd found a little shed where you grabbed a shovel to pry open crypt doors. There is a cart there, but it looks more like a tool and plants and whatnot, landscaping, groundskeeping cart.
More like wheelbarrow size.
A little bit bigger, but not as big as you could comfortably lay this guy in there. You could get him in there.
What else is in there right now, currently?
In the cart?
So like a potato sack or some canvas that they might be using for landscaping purposes, or like to lay down before they start digging the grave to hold the dirt.
Yeah, you find in that area, either right there with it or in the little shed, some tarp.
Okay.
If you ever need fabric, Mr. Carter, I am wearing like 17 layers of petticoats. Just
Fair.
saying. I'm always your girl for needing fabric.
I think the guy we need to clothe is a little bit larger than you.
You've never seen a petticoat.
When you charge by the hour, it's like, if it takes you 20 minutes to get
take off all the petticoats, it's dollar bills. It's very cash money.
So I am going to
Dump him.
chunk him in. I'm not worried about him being comfortable. He don't feel shit.
Nope.
Shovel
And
again.
just throw a tarp over it, and between me and Irish, you said it wasn't a wheelbarrow, right? It's a pull cart. So me and Irish will both take one side of it and pull it behind us.
Okay, well, about this time, Darren Scott, the not Scotsman, says, it's about quitting time. Be heading on. And Irish is like, yeah, isn't it quitting time? They're not real comfortable with this whole situation. So they're both looking to leave.
I will push one of them off of it and be like, oh, fine, bunch of babies, and grab the other handle with the good arm.
They doctored you up pretty good in the barbershop.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're down to only like 1 hit point loss total.
No. I'm still missing 4 hit points.
I thought...
I don't know that we actually ever rolled for what I got back for him.
Right, you did.
Did I?
I remember it being
I
you
thought
were
it was
1 or
3.
2 off.
Yeah.
Maybe it didn't say
and
that.
I told you that at every 24 hours, every
That's
new
right.
day, you healed 1 more, but you were just a couple off.
It's possible it just didn't save it on my file. So
It was a computer error, not an Emily error.
It's an Android operating system. I don't know why you haven't mastered it yet.
There's
That's the
inside
wounds
joke
that really
there
hurt.
that's not really funny. So what about you? What's your response to Darren and Irish wanting to skeet daddle?
He's not surprised, but he's also not going to fight him. He has more important things to do. They can go on back home. If Rosalee can handle pulling the cart with him, he's fine.
Okay, well, those two then walk off. They start walking south towards the docks and the Torino office there in Speedwagon Imports. And as they're walking off, you hear Irish say to Scott, "Well, that was the damnedest stuff I ever saw." And Scott looks at him and says, "Why ain't you got an Irish accent? You..." No, he says, "I don't see nothing. We weren't even out here, or nothing to do with that. And if you know what's good for you, you take the same thing. You've done nothing but sit in the office all day, and now you're going home." And off they go.
All right.
Pip, pop, off you pop.
Pip, pip, cheerio.
So let's make tracks, Rosalee, because we don't want to dwaddle here too much.
Dwaddle?
I'll look that word up later.
You mean dawdle?
And we dwaddled away.
Waddle. Okay, so we're going to pull this cart toward the police station.
Okay, so good move, right? The streets are pretty busy. It is 6:30 or 7, but for a lot of the folks on the dock or in the match factory that's not too far off, that's just around quitting time. I mean, it's long-ass 12-hour days for them. Yep. So there's a lot of folks moving back from the industrial and work areas into the heart of Whitechapel to their shops, their homes, and some people are stopping by the pub on the way. Some people are going home so they can get to the pub quicker. A lot of people. There are carriages going by on the streets, drawn by horses. Some privately owned, some like cabs kind of thing. But it's, we haven't really taken the opportunity at this point to understand how crowded and bustling Whitechapel is at this time. This time in history. Not just this time of day, but it's a lot of it right now. So you've got probably 4 or 5 or more blocks to go from the very east end of Whitechapel to the very west end of Whitechapel, where the police station is. Is that where you were headed?
Yes.
Yeah. So somewhere real near the police station is where Probst is staying if he's not currently at the police station. So I think some rolls are in order here.
Ooh, I like rolls.
But what's a good one for, can I get a dead creature that doesn't belong in this world from one end of town to the other, covered in a cart?
So if you're asking my opinion, which that sounded like you were.
I was.
Navigate doesn't really fit.
No, you know the way there.
Stealth kind of doesn't really fit, but it kind of does because we're trying to be unassuming. And maybe because you mentioned these people are coming home from their jobs, they work a 12-hour day, and I know after I've worked like even 8 hours and 1 minute, I'm focused on getting home.
Right.
So maybe stealth would work out okay. I don't see
So I'm going to let y'all
better.
make a choice between stealth, and this is a bit of a stretch, but disguise. Because you're disguising the lump in the back of this cart as just stuff instead of this weird creature. You have an argument for
I do have an argument for one.
Let's hear it.
Fast talk. Hear me out. So we're pulling this cart.
Get your boiled dog here.
No, we're making slightly louder than normal conversation about some kind of animal come down with pus-filled boils and looks infectious, and it's not going to be good. We've got to get it taken care of and incinerated. Just very loudly talking about how infectious whatever is under here probably is. Because they would have been dealing with a lot of
right? So then
plagues.
Presumably if you do well at this, then people are going to give you a wide berth.
Because they're not going to want to deal with it.
Absolutely. So I'll give you guys your choice. You can do fast talk, or you can do stealth, or you can do disguise. But I need one from each of you.
So I have jack shit and disguise. Okay.
It doesn't have to be the same thing.
No. You can choose different ones. But then tell me how you're using that skill to help. I mean, Emily just kind of walked through it for fast talk. If you picked stealth, tell me what you're doing. And
I feel like me trying to be stealthy and her trying to fast talk is at odds with one another.
I can do stealth. I have a 40 in stealth. It's not as high as my fast talk as a 50, but it's not a huge enough difference if you want to do stealth.
I think stealthy is the way to go. And then if something happens along the way, we can have
fast talk, back talk,
or intimidate.
Fair enough. So if stealth is the one, then rather than roll 2, I will let one of you roll with the bonus dice.
What's your stealth?
60.
Okay. Roll it.
The looks on those faces.
Well, one of his sets of dice is incredibly difficult for me to read. But 2, not a good roll.
Without the bonus dice, it's a 99. With the bonus dice, it's a 79.
Still
which is
That's
missing.
good, because I don't think you wanted a fumble here.
No. Missing the mark by 19. Out. And I'm very tempted because I do have 23 points of luck at the moment to just take that 19 off of there, but it's already at a point where every time you ask for luck, I'm like, I failed this.
And never mind.
So I'm going to keep my luck.
All right, so you guys are moving through the streets, taking back alleys when you can and when the cart will fit through them, and occasionally having to cross or utilize the larger roads that go through here. And about halfway through, there is just your standard issue Metropolitan Police, Bobby with the copper buttons and the blue ovally hat. And he's, "Oi, what you doing there? What's in that cart? Doesn't look right. Isn't that it looks like a groundskeeper's car, it does. What's it doing up here in the city? What's this all about, Dan?"
You said that the snout of the ghoul looked rather canine-like, right?
Yes.
Okay. So as he approaches, I'm going to try to fast talk, and it's the damnedest thing. We found this huge dog over in the cemetery, covered in boils, and it took like 8 of us with like the tarps to get him in here because none of us want to touch him, because when you tried to touch it, they just started busting and rupturing. It's disgusting. And I'm going to lift one corner to just show that snout, just a little bit of snout, just to kind of sell it to him that it's a really big-ass dog.
Based on the proximity of the shotgun blast that nearly killed this thing, and then the fact that a gun shot from a handgun from Irish,
or it may have been Darren.
I think it was Darren, because anyway, I think Darren put one right between its eyes because he rolled like a 2 or something.
Irish didn't have a gun. You made a point of saying
he
that.
had a blackjack. So this thing not only got blasted pretty close quarters by a shotgun, he also took a slug right between the eyes. So in addition to his snout, you're showing him a lot of blood.
It took 3 grown men just to put him down, I swear.
All right, give me a fast talk roll and see what you do with it.
Come on, baby. That's a 67 against a 50.
Hold on, I wouldn't get too close to this. Just keep your distance. Whatever it is has to be contagious, and you don't want, trust me, you don't want to catch whatever this is. We are on business from Reginald Probst. He has asked for help with a case, and just, you don't want to get near this. We need to find him. So as soon as we find him, we'll return the card, I promise.
If you'd like, you could use the spiel that Joseph just came up with as a push for your roll.
A push.
Right, you're going to push roll, you try again. Here's the result. Do you want to know what the negative here is? He's not going to believe you and may try one or more of the following things: taking you into custody, removing the tarp and looking at the thing totally, or both. He may do both of those things.
May do both.
So, would you like to push the roll or just take the failure?
Push the roll. If it doesn't work, I'll go for a hard intimidate.
I'll push the roll. I rolled a 91.
So he rips open the tarp and he's all like, "What is this?"
No.
Sorry.
You're playing my roles now. You understand how this works. You have PCs, I have NPCs.
I was just going to use 17 points of luck on the first one before you jumped in. I was just going to do it.
You always push the roll. It's unwritten rules.
How much luck you sitting on over there, dude?
23.
Mm-hmm. Push the roll, my ass.
You
Meanwhile,
can't push a firearm
back
roll.
at the scene. I don't know what's up here, but it doesn't seem right. And he grabs the tarp and he puts it. Oh my God, what is that thing? That's it. You're coming with me down to Metropolitan Police Headquarters right now. Just and he grabs a little whistle and he thinks about blowing it and he looks around all the people. Cover that damn thing up and come with me. And he's going to take you right to where you are going.
It's fair.
No need for a hard intimidate.
Or 16 points of luck.
That's fair. I didn't think that through.
Yeah. So you now have a police escort on your way up there. If you'd like, you could continue your discussion with him about Probst. You did see a little eye of recognition when you said the name Reginald Probst. Give me a spot hidden. We'll do that.
Spot hidden.
Let me roll off of that 90. 54 against a 70, so that's a regular success.
Psychology may have been a better roll for this, but I'm good with spot hidden.
I would have passed psychology as well.
Cool. So when you saw that little light of recognition when you said the name Reginald Probst, you saw behind that or closely following it a little look of disdain. Like the relationship between Scotland Yard and the Metropolitan Police isn't always that great. It's kind of like the FBI coming down and telling the local police, we're taking this case from you. So this Scotland Yard detective has been foisted upon the Whitechapel Metropolitan Police, and they're having to deal with it. And it's just like, fucking toffer he is. Well, he's a toff. You're a toffer.
Right. Say, how dare you, sir?
So that's all. I mean, it's fleeting. It passes by, but you're like, oh, fucking Probst. That kind of look.
Hey, why don't you see a lady is carrying this. Why don't you grow a set of balls and pick up the other handle?
But you said you didn't need to do the hard intimidate.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's intimidate. Is there a shame skill? Give me an intimidate roll. And I'm going to counter that with his psychology. No, I think maybe his power.
Got a 52 against the 63, so regular success.
Okay, and he got an 18, which is a hard success for him. I'll be the one telling folks what to do around here. Now, you were doing just fine dragging it through the streets when you was trying to get away with, or I don't know what it is you're trying to get away with, but we're going to get to the bottom of it. Now follow me.
All right. Lead the way.
So you two pulling the cart.
Mm-hmm.
Blisters upon your poor hands.
My poor delicate hands.
Yeah. So you guys make it through the streets with the police officer clearing the way, and you get to the police precinct, and there's a little side alleyway, and he makes you follow him back through there rather than leave the cart out here on the street, around to the back door. And he gets another officer to just stand watch on the cart, while he takes you guys inside, and takes you to a little room. Places in there and say, right, you just sit right here for right now till we figure out what I'm doing with you. And a few minutes later, Reginald Probst opens the door. Oh, Jesus, you guys. He's told of highway robbers and dead somethings, and
yeah, you
dropped
got
my name.
You got a smart coworker there.
How's that?
Your peer decided to bring us right where we were trying to go.
Right. It's a humorous, isn't it? Right, you know, if they had any brains about them, they'd be working for Scotland Yard and not the Metropolitan Police.
Well, we have a few updates for you. That thing back there, there's quite a few more of them.
What thing? Right, I haven't seen a thing yet, so...
Well, let's take a walk.
All right, so he leads you guys out of the room. The patrolman that brought you in there, and looking all smug when Probst comes out, until he sees you two walking freely out behind him, and then his whole face is like, freaking yardies.
Yardies.
I'm gonna wave that guy over. Hey. My lady friend here would like a cup of coffee or tea.
He storms off, pissed. And the only thing he won't be writing you a ticket next time he catches you speeding.
So we get to the cart, and I look around, trying to make sure nobody's walking up, and peel the tarp back and say, what do you make of this, Reggie?
Reggie's eyes go really big. His mouth drops for a second. It probably takes a good 10 or 15 seconds before, his jaw is moving, but nothing is coming out. Like,
You want a picture for your pinboard?
oh, you're being a bit of a dick tonight, aren't you?
A little.
Cover that thing up. Holy shit, what is that?
I'll cover it back up. I don't know what it is, but we encountered them looking for old Pete. You remember last time we were here, we told you that we had heard from the kids that they had dragged old Pete into the cemetery, right?
Oh, Pete.
Wait.
Nope. His name.
Weasel Pike.
Weasel.
Old Pete. Where did I get old
Weasel
Pete
Pike.
from?
I have no idea.
Weasel Pete. So Weasel.
Right.
The kids said they had dragged Weasel into the cemetery, and we went and did a little investigating ourselves. Found there was a mausoleum that obviously had been regularly trafficked recently. Open the door up, and there's a hole on the inside that leads to a tunnel. We walk down the tunnel for a little bit, and two of these guys come at us. We run back to the entrance and manage to kill both of them. And this guy came and he spoke to us in the Queen's fucking English. This man here said, deliver flowers tonight. After we had a little discussion, because apparently we killed his brothers. In any case...
You tell me this thing here talked.
It did.
It did.
This thing with the big dog-like nose and big lolling tongue. And I mean, granted, he looks humanoid in that if we stood him up, but just go on. What else?
I tell you, Reggie, there is some weird shit going on here.
Reggie's going to make a sand roll.
Sounds appropriate.
Was close.
Close to a success or close to a failure?
Close to a failure. But isn't it the same thing?
Yeah, kind of.
If your sand's a 50 and you roll a 51, then okay. Jesus. All right. He looks at he covers the thing back up and he looks at the patrolman and says, you stand here and you let nothing get anywhere close to this right now. You two, inside with me.
That's a good idea.
So you go inside and you go into his little war room, right? His murder board.
Murder board.
He's got got it all there. So what you tell me is that she was investigating the whereabouts and the happenings involving one Weasel Pike, and he points to the board. It led you through confidential informants to the cemetery and into a mausoleum where you found creatures like that. What about Weasel Pike?
We did find him. Well, some bits and pieces of him.
We found clothes. We didn't find anything of him.
But I've seen old Weasel enough. I mean, we all have. You remember what he wears. You know, we've seen him around. It was his clothes.
It's just ratty old boots that have no laces in them.
Yep.
And, all right.
As we were fighting these creatures, these ghoulish creatures, Rosalee had a bit of an injury. We were using a candle. The candle was running out, and I decided to get everybody out. We took her to the barber shop to get her patched up a little bit. I went down to the docks, got some of the Torino boys to go down there with me because we had found Weasel's clothes and we were hoping we could find more of him somewhere.
Wouldn't be unlike Weasel just running around naked in some tunnels.
Do you remember that Christmas last year?
Right?
With his ferret all dangling out. But
just decking every hole he could find, he was.
Just holding mistletoe above it. But we went back hoping to see hide or hair of him. Found nothing. But the two dead ones we had killed getting out had been dragged into the interior in a larger chamber where there had to be at least a dozen of these fuckers. And this one here still seemed to have some sort of reason about him. He was trying to keep them from eating his brothers, right? Eventually, it broke, and they all, just like a pack of dogs on a stake, just closed in, and there was blood and viscera flying all over the place and snapping jaws, and I even tried throwing a rock to see if I could get one of their attention to pull one out because I wanted to have something to show you. Nothing was working. I'm firm in the belief that they ate Weasel Pike, and they ate their brothers, and when this one was coming out, there was a body in the entrance that had been tossed in the body of, and I'm going to walk over and tap on the name Jacko. The body of Jacko.
The one I told you got snatched by the fog, in case you forgot.
Right, fog, right there,
Yeah.
right on his name, fog. You see, it's written fog everywhere. This is what's so fucking confusing, right? Am I looking for a murderous fog? Now I'm looking for freaking dog creatures? What the fuck, man? And he looks at his board, and he looks over at you guys, and he looks at his board, and just when I thought it was starting to make some sense, then here comes another fucking wrinkle in here. All right, first of all, you say Jacko's body is there.
It was a bit ago, but it probably isn't now.
Those
Well,
creatures.
isn't that convenient for your story? Well, it was Weasel, but there ain't no Weasel left, and it was Jacko, but there ain't gonna be no Jacko if you got it. What is you trying to pull with me? You know, I've been straight with you this whole time.
We got out the one body we could. It's right out there in a cart.
Okay.
If you want me to carry it down to the newspaper, we can do that.
Didn't you find like a paper hat or something?
I did. I was getting to that.
Oh, my apologies.
I'll pull out the paper hat, and I'd like to examine it.
Okay, so you pull it out in this reasonably well-lit room. And it's a white paper hat. It looks kind of like the hats that you see folks in, like the Air Force or whatever wear, but it's white and it's paper, but it's shaped that way. And on one side of it is written Lord's Flowers, Cuts, and Chops.
I'm going to take it and pin it on his pegboard under Jacko and Fog. And I'm going to say, we found this right next to the body. We did find it right next to the body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it might have actually been like slightly under a leg or something, but yeah.
We found this under the body. The first time we talked to that one in the alleyway before, he died.
Oh, you said something about delivering flowers tonight or something.
I think we need to look into Flowers Butcher. I think the next...
Are you saying that Flowers the Butcher dropped the dead body of Jacko, which I won't be able to find, into the crypt where the dozens of weird dog-like creatures are sat?
I'm not saying anybody...
Who are responsible for the disappearance, though not the clothes of, one Weasel Pike.
I'm not saying anybody in particular did that. I don't know who did that. I just know that I found this hat. It says flowers on it. This guy said flowers, deliver flowers tonight. I don't think you were in the room for that one. Were you?
For when he said flowers or deliver flowers. I was there for that.
Okay. She heard it. She heard the name Flowers come out of his mouth. I don't know if it's the butcher himself, somebody adjacent. I don't know what's going on with it, but I think that's the next place I need to check out personally.
And I would like to clarify, you may find Jacko's body, but you will also find at least a dozen more of those.
All right. This is all rather confusing and a little hard to believe, but I can't deny what my eyes have seen out back. So work with me here for a minute, all right? And I'll tell you what, I'll drop the stick up the ass investigator from Scotland Yard thing, and you can drop the fuck you, I'll go to the newspaper thing, and let's just talk for a second. Is this a deal?
All right.
All right. So he turns to his board. He's like, all right, we got 5 people up on this board, right? I got Weasel Pike. You'll now tell me he's dead.
Yes.
We can't prove it, but I don't see anything surviving down
Let's
there.
make the supposition.
Allegedly dead.
That Weasel Pike is dead. All right. We've got one Thomas Blanton. First man to go missing, dead.
In the street.
With his guts just ripped apart like it was fucking piñata and nothing on the inside. Dead. And we got on Jacko here, who you're now telling me is dead.
Mm-hmm.
We also have the two remaining, Scott Woodrow, a factory worker, and Philip Bradford, a clerk at Curiosities and Collectibles, whose bodies have not been found. But under each one of them, some witness or another said the fog had taken them.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the connection between a fog taking them and this thing dog eating them? Help me work this out. I'm not doubting any of your thing, but I'm trying to make my theory of the case here so that we can start. I mean, we've got more information now. That's something, right? Because it's just kind of marking time, right? I do have one tidbit to share with you in here in a minute, but help me work out how does this, the fog and the dog, come together for me.
Well, maybe the dogs are waiting for the fog to roll in as a method of being able to snatch people.
Have you told him about the naked man?
Well, no, we barely had him on the thing that he could actually see. I hadn't quite gotten him to the thing that I just need him to believe me on.
We earlier in our pursuits came across a woman when we returned to the scene of Thomas Blanton, who asked us if we were looking for the naked man. And she claims that there was a naked, hairless man.
Wrinkleless, almost like a newborn babe, but as a full-grown man.
Just wandering about in the same area.
Well, this is at the Thomas Blanton scene.
Yes.
Where you also say that little bug you showed me last time came from.
And the bugs. I saw the naked man earlier, actually, outside of the barber shop, and he went off a different way. And
All right, so this lady told you about a naked man, but now you've seen the naked man?
Well, yeah, he wasn't with me.
When did that happen?
Well, I told you about that when you were a little busy at the cemetery. But yeah, when I came out the barber shop, I saw the naked, hairless baby man thing, and he went down an alley. But little Georgie here was adamant. No matter how much I moved him, he was getting to that naked man. So Georgie here could probably lead us to the naked baby man.
Who, by the way, you'll recall, was clothed in like a trench coat when you saw him.
He was clothed this time.
He wasn't
I
just
amend
swinging
that.
meat out there on the street.
Swinging.
You said, I saw the naked man. I'm like, I bet she's seen a few.
All right, that doesn't narrow it down much, does it, Missy? All right.
But what if the maybe the fog is coming up from below the ground, like the manhole covers and the sewer drains, and
well, that would make it less meteorological. I always have trouble with that word. And more man-made than what you're suggesting that there's something creating parts of this fog for purposes of disguising their activities?
possibly.
Hey, he makes some notes on the board. Right. He puts dog thing words underneath Philip. I'm not Philip. Weasel and Jacko.
Mm-hmm.
And he puts the naked baby man words up under Thomas Blanton. All right, did you get the name of a woman who... I'm not sure this fits in at all. I feel like we might be chasing a red herring here. Naked man. It's not all that uncommon in these streets.
No, that's fair.
No life around here.
She said he didn't have any hair.
Well, that's a bit of a perversion, isn't it?
No, we didn't get her name, but she lives in one of the flats.
So he writes that up on the board. All right, so here's a piece I got for you. Well, that you haven't scrambled me brains enough with clues you're bringing in. Dogs and fogs and naked men and bugs and shit. There's been a reported sighting of one Philip Bradford. one of the Bobbies out and walking the streets. Was told by one of the youngsters running around that they had seen one of the missing men, Philip Bradford, just the night before, and talking to somebody else, and they were certain it was him, but that's all.
No name?
Philip Bradford.
Of the person he was talking to.
Oh, no, the witness did not know the other person, just recognized Philip Bradford's face because it's been plastered on some walls. Please help us find our beloved Philip.
Right. And Philip was the one who... Where did he work?
All right, it's right there on the board. Philip Bradford, clerk, curiosities and collectibles. He worked at the store. They sell odds and ends and knickknacks and what have you.
The way I look at it...
antique store kind of thing. Not my cup of tea, but a lot of people seem to like it. My mother used to put shit all over it, man. I was like, oh.
The way I look at it, we need to check out the butcher shop.
You got a clue? Point us towards the butcher shop. One, what? Thank you. And he goes over, he writes that up on the board. Flowers, cuts and chops, and he writes it underneath the column with Jacko.
Under the hat. Because I pinned the hat.
Right.
We need to check out the butcher shop.
Right.
We need to check out where the Georgie bug leads us.
Right.
And I'm thinking now we should most definitely check out this curiosities and collectibles and at least ask the people there if they have seen.
Right, we're running out of live bodies to find. Right, we're down out of the 5 to just Philip Bradford and Scott Woodrow. So I think you're right. There, we make one line of inquiry. The two that we do not yet have bodies for. What about naked baby man? Is this a line of inquiry or not? Oh, that's what you were talking about with the bug thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
You believe the bug thing wants to get to the naked baby man based on what you were saying?
Yes.
I don't know where else we can go with that one. Follow the bug and see if that hypothesis proves true.
All right. Well, I think you're right. Well, I'm going to put the coppers on, though, is we're going to the cemetery. Because if we can retrieve the body of Jacko, well, that's evidence, right? So we need to get right on that before them dog creatures show him, perhaps, maybe they haven't come and got him yet.
I'm going to kind of lift up my bandage, go armed, show him.
Right, and he has seen
the mangled mess of my arm.
The mangled mess of that body where you put a shotgun blast into him and he had a bullet. And he said, well, perhaps the gunfire might keep the other ones at bay for a minute. So he calls out to one of the Bobbies and tells her to put 3 guys together.
Okay. I say we go see if we can hunt down Philip. What?
I'm just imagining in 4 or 5 hours we come back to Reggie with something. He's like, have you heard from the 3 guys that we sent to the cemetery? Like,
that's you don't think that's enough guys?
Oh no.
Yeah. But I think we should go try to hunt down this tip about seeing Philip Bradford. I think that's our most pressing because right now he's the only one alive, supposedly.
Yeah, but we know the butcher shop has something to do with the dead. So following the trail back up, we may find someone live in the investigation of the butcher shop before they can do whatever.
Unless he goes out like Thomas Blanton did.
Rosalee, give me let's call it intelligence.
You got this.
28, which is 1 point away from a hard success. I'll use.
Don't spend any money on this. Don't even spend any luck on this. Just in case you'd forgotten. When you came to the crypt after leaving the barber shop, it was foggy, but you saw two people leaving the thing. I don't know if you'd shared that with anybody, and you didn't know, was it the fog or were they actually wearing white coats?
Okay.
So.
On a completely unrelated matter, did I mention that I think I saw two guys outside the crypt when I came and helped you open that door?
No.
Yeah, so thinking about it now, I probably did see them, but the fog made it hard to see. There was two guys that looked like in white coats. And since you said just before I got there, Jacko's body had been dropped, it was probably those two guys.
What kind of white coats? Like barber or butcher or...
Yes. They're very similar coats.
Two guys.
Two guys, white coats.
Did
since
you
they
see
dropped the
close
hat.
enough that you would be able to identify them positively?
No, I wasn't even entirely sure I saw them up until I made the connection that if somebody dropped Jacko right before I got there, and then I got there, and I thought I saw two guys, I probably did see two guys.
Hair color?
Nope.
Nothing?
Wasn't even sure they were real to begin with.
So, Reggie, maybe before your guys go in, maybe take a look around at footprints in the area?
Right, we'll do that. I'm, based on what you've told me and the reservations you've expressed here, I'm going to explain to my guys that their only job is to go to that mausoleum, open that crypt door, and look down into what is supposed to be a hole there and see a body. If they do not see a body at that place, they are to come back and report that to me. They are by no means expected to go down into the hole and search the tunnels. If what you have told me, I would not. On my conscience that I've spent 3 of them to be eaten by 12 of them things that are out there.
Didn't you move the body? Y'all moved the body
Not the Jacko body. Oh, they did. They tossed it just a few feet down the hallway.
Yeah.
We didn't tell you that. And I'm not going to tell them that.
Jackass.
Reggie, do you happen to have any paper, parchment, a scroll possibly, and a quill for me?
A scroll and a quill.
A stone and chisel, maybe?
Maybe we should do a little homework on what was and wasn't available. I've got these hieroglyphics on the wall. Could you use those? He's got paper. He's got it. Probably more like a inkwell and a quill pen kind of thing.
I am going to take a sheet of paper and a pen and attempt to draw a map of the tunnels as I remember them.
It looks like spaghetti.
Don't do his job. Haven't you heard him getting on to me for it?
I'm just better at it than you are.
Thanks for the backup there. Just half my tip. So, give me I don't know. I'm going to let you do it on your track skill because I don't see draw a map skill on here. Cartography could be a skill that you could specialize into. Do you want to use navigate? Do navigate. You're dying to do navigate. Not because you're good at it, because there's an opportunity to put a check mark on something. I've got you figured out.
75.
All right, so you draw one out, and he looks at us like, I'm not sure we can do much with this, but like I said, I'm going to tell my guys not to go down there, but I'll pin this on the board right here.
That's what I was thinking is like, oh, Ringo drew us a picture. We're going to put it on the fridge right here.
So you can tell that there's just a little bit of the beauty of revenge in his eyes as he takes your picture and pins it to the board next to the white hat that you so ceremoniously pinned to his board. So,
I'm okay with this.
Yeah, me too. Cinematically, it's a hilarious scene. All right, then. Well, guys, you got that. I've got some rewickering to do here on the board. It's all gotten like every time you go in there, it's like it's been erased and rewritten neater. Every time he has to add something, then it's like,
damn it.
Right.
Yeah.
He's a fastidious man.
Well, we'll go find something. We'll either go to the butcher shop or we'll go try to find Philip Bradford. Or Bradley, excuse me. And we'll argue about that someplace else.
We'll touch base with you in the morning, Reg.
All right. And you hear him as you're leaving telling some officers and the one outside that he wants that thing taken into the basement.
Is the one outside the one that accompanied us earlier? Has he gotten back yet?
No. The guy that brought you in. No, please don't throw me in that briar patch, right? No, he came inside, deposited you. He left another guy out there watching the cart. And then Probst told him to continue watching the cart. Now, I don't know where that guy is, the one that brought you in.
Hopefully bringing back my coffee.
Yeah, do you want to wait? Or
He's around somewhere. But he grabs a couple of them and instructs them to keep the body covered, get it down to the basement. He'll call a medical examiner in to come take a look at this stuff. And as you guys are leaving, it's like, all right, well, I don't know what all this means, but I do know one thing that I'm going to have to admit at this point. And that is, it's pretty obvious Livy has got nothing to do with any of this. Now, I'm going to release her. I'm going to release her first thing in the morning, because I don't think it's safe to release her tonight. There's still going to be some amount of the populace out here that thinks because she was arrested for the Thomas Blanton thing that she's got something to do with it. And the way fevers are pitched right now about these 5 missing men, it could be dangerous to her to just throw her out on the street. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep her for the rest of the night, and I will send word over to the brothel for them to come get her in the morning.
Okay. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, well, it's not me. It's what the board dictates.
We live by the board. We die by the board.
Now we're on the board. Does it say Livy? I got fog. I got dogs. I got butchers and bakers and candlestick makers. And anyway, we get it all sorted out. That's what the board's for.
Before we leave, let's go for just a small second and talk to Livy and see if the name Bradford rings any bells for her as far as whether Thomas Blanton was interacting with him.
Okay. Yeah, Livy doesn't know Thomas Blanton, and if I'm sorry, he doesn't know Philip Bradford, and she doesn't know whether or not Tommy, whether or not he knew him.
Okay. Well, we'll excuse ourselves after letting her know what's going on, that they're going to try to take care of her in the morning and to lay low, and then we'll...
You're going to tell her that?
Yeah, I wasn't going to act it out because it wasn't super pertaining.
Yeah. Maybe you should have this scene. Because I see where you're coming from, and I think maybe you guys need to have a conversation.
What?
I don't necessarily think we should tell her just yet.
That she's going to get out in the morning?
Yeah.
Why?
They would have told her if they wanted her to know.
I mean, does it change anything for her?
It does if they don't actually let her out in the morning. How many times have you been like at a hospital or something and they're like, "Oh, we'll get you out tomorrow," and tomorrow comes and the person's just upset and irate because the nurse told them they would be getting sent out, but the doctor came in and was like, "No, we need to keep them one more day."
It's a little different than being proved innocent in a murder. But that's what we don't have to tell. I just didn't think it was consequential. I was just trying to wrap up the interaction that I didn't think really needed to be role played. So.
Yeah, I wasn't going to role play it anyway because I didn't feel like trying to do Livy's voice tonight.
Just wasn't in. I wasn't in for it.
I'm phoning this in tonight. I'm sorry.
No, you're not.